Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time, I already did a video on armor, so this time I'm going to do a video on weapon mods, because some people seem to be confused as to how armor pen works. So let me show you. So in my armor video, I basically showed you that the difference between armors when using T3 ammo. So each ammo has a percentage of armor penetration already. So if you go here, you can see, okay, so gray ammo has no armor pen, which means your armor gets your full effect. T2 has 15% armor pen, and I'm guessing is the way armor pen works in this, because there's really no explanation on any of the game stuff. See, this has 30, so the difference between tier 2 and tier 3 is doubled. So this is 15, this is 30, this is 45, so this is only 15% more armor pen than T3. But look how much more expensive it is. It's more than 2 times expensive as T3. So, and then your T5 is what, 60, so 15% more expensive than that. And like for some types of ammo, the gold ammo isn't as expensive. I mean, in comparison, this is, well, it is still double. It's double the price. So basically, you're looking from T3 here, you're looking double the price for only 15% more armor pen, and then double the price for only 15% more armor pen than T4. So the way armor works is each armor gives you a percentage of damage reduction. And I'm guessing that the ammo, depending on the ammo you use, is going to reduce this damage reduction. So if you're using T3 ammo, this armor is going to give me roughly 60% or 65% damage reduction. I can math. So there's that. So if you're using, I don't actually own any normal armors, so give me a second. So T5 is 90%, which means you're going to get 60% with T3 ammo, and even less with T4, T5 ammo. So where attachments come in is you can get a little bit more armor pen, but more armor pen does not mean more damage. Against higher targets, like higher armored targets, you are going to get a little bit more damage because they have higher armor. But if a target has lower armor, you're not going to get the same benefit. And most people run T4. So this is the standard armor that everybody runs. It's 75% damage reduction. If you're using T3 ammo, that means it's 30% less, so it's 45% damage reduction. You could still eat a few rounds from T3, like in T4. It will stop, I'm guessing, 1 to 2 more rounds than normal ammo, which when you're getting eaten up by an M4, that can be not a lot. But for a sniper, if they're using, well, a sniper does a lot of damage, so even if it's getting reduced by some armor, like if you're getting hit by a Scourge, this T4 is not going to protect you for very long. And even with T3 ammo, you might be able to eat 3 rounds, maybe 4, if you're lucky. Especially if they get a headshot on you, it's over. They get a damage multiplier, you're toast. T5, now T3 ammo, T5 is good against T3. Against T4, it's still going to shred you. It's going to eat you up pretty good. Even in gold, like what I'm wearing here, this 95%, it's only 5% more than this. But, you know, T4 ammo just, it shreds on its own. You don't really need too much extra armor pen. Now, if you add some armor pen on top of it using like your rifled or your AP mod, these two right here, so that's 10% extra damage reduction. And then if you go to your mags, you can get extra armor pen on your mags. So like heated, there's 9. Actually, I might buy that. Give me that. That's pretty cheap for 9. Okay, game. Cool. It does want to give it to me. Game's lagging or whatever. If I hit refresh, it's probably gone. Yep, there it goes. Sometimes people will sell their good stuff for... You got to be on the lookout for that. I tend to find it's usually this first mag here. Whenever you refresh your armor list, if you look for it, a lot of times you'll find, like, there's an 8. You see how they do that? So I've noticed that. That's one thing. But like I was saying, yeah, extra armor pen does not mean extra damage. I see there's so many people that don't even run T4. At least on the desert map where I run, on C, you'll mostly see T4s or less. You will very rarely run into T5s. And you will almost never see gold. This is so rare, like for people to use extra gold armor. It's ridiculous. So, and even if you're using like regular armor, if people were using limb attachments, so where is it? Oh, it's on the optics, that's right. So if they're using like damage to limbs or extra damage to the head or the torso, like you're going to get extra. This is actually extra damage, not armor pen. Armor pen is not extra damage. Armor pen, all it does is help pierce armor, which you can get extra, like more damage than you would normally get on them. But if they're not using good armor, which most people aren't, it's really not of benefit. So why would you go here and like waste your time on something super expensive? Like you want heated bullets, like 8K, when you could get like just Warhead for a little cheaper. If you could do quick draw mags with Warhead, it's even way cheaper. 3.3K for Warhead. This mod right here, as I was trying to explain in Discord, is an excellent mod. Not only does it increase armor consumption, so it's reducing their armor, they're also burning for 2 seconds after you shoot them, which this has downed many people behind cover for me. Downed or killed. So many people, especially with like a sniper, if you're using like a pole. This or even the Persuader. I've gotten a lot of Warhead kills with those guns. This gun here, like with Warhead, pretty much one taps anybody that's under T4, and 2 taps everybody else. So I don't know why people think armor pen gives you more damage. I mean, against somebody like me, yeah, you're going to get more damage because I'm wearing awesome armor. Like, I wear this kind of armor. So, yeah, it's going to be great against that, but how many times do you run into a person in gold armor? Or even T5? I'd guess not often. Maybe if you play, like, Shelter C, and there's a whole lot of geared teams, and they're all running T5s and stuff, armor pen is probably your best bet. But in certain game modes like desert zoning, if you're running solo or duo, running into a T5 is pretty rare. You're going to see a lot of T4s, and you're going to see even less than that. A lot more nakeds and T3s. So if you see nakeds and T3s, this extra armor pen's not going to do you any better than what your ammo's already giving you, really. So if you're running T3 ammo, you're getting a 30% damage reduction right there. You could stack on another 5 with a cheap mod, like rifling. You know, but you're not getting extra damage. All you're doing is reducing their armor more. And, I mean, the damage is negligible anyway, because if you have a weapon that normally 3-shots people, and you get a couple extra points of damage on them, it's still going to take 3 shots to kill them, to get over their HP threshold. So you're really getting no benefit. But if you get, say, like 2 shots on them, takes them down to 90, does 95 damage, and they have 5 HP left, the Warhead here will kill them, even if they get behind cover. This will murk them. So instead of needing to get that third shot on them, you only really need 2 because the burning effect will kill them before they can even med up. I mean, even if they have the backpack that has auto sorting on it, like, you can't med fast enough before that burning kills you. I know, it's happened to me before. It's happened to me and I've seen it a lot. I mean, it's not like I'm inexperienced at the game. I have almost 8,000 kills. I've done over 2,000 battles. I have a pretty good kill-death ratio. And my escape rate's like 70%. So, I mostly know what I'm talking about. There's probably some more experienced players and stuff than me in the game. There's definitely better players than me in the game. But at the same time, like, this is from what I've gathered from my experience, is that it's a whole lot better to get, if you want extra armor pen, to go with rifling or the AP mod, because you can get it fairly cheap. You could stack, you know, some extra armor pen. You get 5 with that, and then if you do like 4 with bullet recycle, that's almost 10% extra armor pen. But for most instances, I'm gonna tell you that Warhead's better. Just in my experience, this has downed way more people for me than extra armor pen. Extra armor pen, sometimes I'll still light them up the same amount. It's just they'll get behind cover and I won't have Warhead that will kill them. So I don't care too much for extra armor pen. I'd say just use better ammo. I mean, what's even if you have the difference between buying like a Warhead mag right here, like heated, and or like, I mean, look at these. These are freaking ridiculous. For the price of this, just run better ammo. You're only getting 12% armor pen. That's it. 12%. When you could just pick up some extra ammo. Like, grab T4, T5 ammo. 10k. Do you know how many, like, that was what, almost 700k? Look how much ammo you could get. 20k for 80. And then what? 47. So, I mean, just don't waste your ammo if you're using good ammo. Usually if I'm using T4 or T5 ammo, I'll carry with me like a pistol that has T2 ammo in it to kill nakeds with. I'm not going to waste my T5 ammo. My T5 ammo doesn't do any more damage to a naked than to a guy in like T3 or T4. It's really nothing. Like, it's not going to make a difference in terms of shots that they can take. And if you watch my armor video, I show you, like, the difference between level 1 and level 3 armor is like nothing if you're using T3 ammo. You can maybe take one more round. But from an automatic gun, like if you're up close and you're getting shredded by a deluge, or you're getting eaten by an M4 or an AK, or literally anything that's not a sniper, it's not going to do squat, and a shotgun's going to murder you anyways. So your T3 armor is useless. It's garbage. I don't know why people are so obsessed with like armor pen. Like, the price on armor pen is skyrocketed. This used to be cheap to get heated and stuff. A decent percentage. But I think now people are telling all their friends and stuff, they're like, yeah, get more armor pen, dude. It makes a difference. I'm like, go to the shooting range and test it out. Like, see if it takes, like, how much damage you're doing with how many rounds, and then take it off and then see how much more damage you're doing. Because I'm telling you, the difference is maybe 1 round. At best, it is 1 round. So, and, you know, if you... I prefer Warhead just because sometimes you just can't get that 1 round on them. Like, sometimes it takes 4 shots to kill them, and you only get 3 and they duck behind cover. And in those instances, Warhead kills them. Right there. Boom. That'll take care of it for you most of the time. And if it doesn't, they pop out, they still take 1 more round. You know? Like... But that's kind of how I feel about that. So I've spent enough time on that. Let's go over some of these other mods. I'm just going to show you which ones I think are worthwhile. Sniper measurements, always worthwhile on any map that has decent long range. I'd say Shelter is a close and medium range, there's very few instances on the map like you're going to be able to get long range shots. So maybe carry an extra sniper with you and you're safe and use sniper on it. But aside from that, I think a ×4 scope will probably do you. ×4, ×2. If you're good like in close range with the ×4 like me, like a ×4 will do you. If you need the ×2 to do close range, then maybe you want to opt in for that. But if you're using like a deluge or a pistol or something, you're definitely going to want a red dot or a holographic because, well, most pistols you can't put anything bigger than that on. Shotguns, yeah, it's kind of pointless. I mean, you could go with the ×2 on a shotgun. I do that a good bit of the time just because I like the little extra zoom. ×4 is really unnecessary on a shotgun. But yeah, Shelter I would consider a close to medium range map. Desert is definitely a long to medium range map, and close range is far and few between. There's only like in the tunnels and stuff that you're going to get into close range combat, and you could avoid those if you really wanted to. If you're using a sniper or whatever, you can just not go into the tunnels or whatever, and problem solved. So, and then, you know, Red Beach is all close range. Like, there's almost no instances where you're going to find long range, and, you know, so those are the three maps. So your three different options for attachments. So obviously, for long range, you want sniper. You want sniper, maybe arm. These are the other two good ones, is head and chest, but they're expensive, at least now. Yeah, 40k. Oof. For only 10% extra damage, and who knows if that's actually gonna make a difference in terms of shot count. But maybe, you know, you get, boom, the super expensive scope. I mean, I could build so many guns for 350k. Why would you on one scope? Unless you want just the best of the best. If you're running the best armor and you have the best gun with the best mods, like I have $1 million guns, but I don't run them all the time, for sure, especially when the cheating is bad. I don't bring them out hardly ever. So I wouldn't waste your money on this stuff. If you're going for budget build stuff, I would say this is a lot what I run is the arm damaging, because I don't know why people started going like a whole bunch of joint, but most joints are under 25% and you get no extra effects, and they're way more expensive now because people started using them. But if you go arm, so cheap. 25% guaranteed, extra scatter because you're almost never shooting at their legs. I mean, they take reduced damage to legs anyway, so why would you want to? Unless you're using maybe like an M4 on the desert map and you want to be able to slow them down to get more shots on them. You could aim for the legs just to proc this, and then maybe you're using necrotic so you could double up on movement slowing, slow them down and just light them up. That's probably a good strategy, but a lot of the time you're going to see that they're already in position, hiding behind hills and stuff, and you're only going to have access to their upper body anyways. So for most situations, I'm going to say arm damaging is better. You could use the leg if you were, you know, you caught somebody running from place to place, but it doesn't happen often. I'll say, at least not for me. I'm not lucky like that to catch a lot of people running out in the open. It's usually they're already in position, hiding on a hill, and you're sniping at them, and they're sniping at you, so you're going to hit either head, chest, or arms. That's pretty much it. And it's cheap. Super cheap for a scope. Weakness, I mean, price difference. I don't like paying the extra price for just a little extra damage to torso whenever you hit arms just as often. So, and you get way more damage to the arms. So I'm going to say arms is better. And if people aren't using limb reduction, and I'm not sure how damage works, like the armor works for limbs. I don't know if it does apply to arms or not. If it does, then okay, but you're still getting extra damage. And if it doesn't, then limbs would be the way to go. So on most of my armors, I run limb armor just to try to negate that 25% extra damage that you take. It's really crappy if you're using like gold T5 heavy armor, or gold T5 like with some of these other mods, like maybe this, and then someone lights you up in your arms with extra damage, and you're like, oh, you're using torso protection, and you're like, haha, I'm super tough, but then they shoot you in the arms with extra damage, and it pretty much negates that. So, oof, big rip. So yeah, long range, I would go, that's my favorite scope for long range, super cheap, pretty effective for most situations. If you're going to run like bursting bullet, you may want armor destructor, which a little bit more expensive, but you know, if you can shred their armor and get that bursting bullet damage, I would say could be worth it. It's not too bad. Joint destroyer, I wouldn't bother. Most people are using this right now, and it's not that good. I mean, when are you ever just hitting, aside from maybe shotguns? Like shotguns, maybe you're shooting them in the leg as well. But I'd still say like most of the time you're hitting arms because you're aiming for upper torso. I'd say arms is better, almost always. This is the mod to go. It's really underrated. People don't know yet, but maybe after this video they will, so we'll see the price of this skyrocket. They'll be like, oh yeah, makes sense. Thermal can be good depending on situations. I saw some other guy, he smoked us and murked us with thermal through smoke, which was effective, I have to say. Props to that guy. And then headshots. I mean, if you're taking headshots, this is probably the way to go. Like if you're using a weapon that doesn't get but maybe an optic and a muzzle slot, or maybe just an optic slot, like headshot could be the way to go. Using like a Mosin or something. I don't know if you can one tap. I guess I have one tap people with a Mosin before, but I don't know if I was using extra head damage to do it. This might, I don't know, it might just help you with somebody who's a little bit heavier armored. 20k, that's a little pricey whenever regular sniper scopes cost, you know, 5. So up to you if you really want to use the extra damage. I would say this is probably sufficient. Extra 20% damage is about as good as you really need, but who knows? Maybe this will one tap him. I don't know. It's hard to test in this game because I can't. There's not a good like shooting range where I can like put on different mods of armors and test the mods of armors. You can only test base armors, so it's hard to tell. But that's pretty much it for scopes. Like I'd say the only mods worth a dang are these bottom ones. Thermal, arm. I mean, you can get this if you're going really cheap and you just want a little extra head damage. So what's the difference between this? Oof. It's even more expensive than the arm damage. I'd rather have... Oh, no, it's not. At least for times 8s. I think it was for times 4s. Let's test this. 9. There's not that many of them, surprisingly. 8. Yeah, I'd rather go arm for times 4. Maybe for times 8, you go with this. You get that extra 5% headshot damage and a little ADS speed. Might be worth it. But that's it for scopes. Muzzle wise, I would say you almost always want to run suppressor if you can. Suppressor is way better than either of these. Like the extra range bonus is garbage for those, and this gives you what, recoil stability and range. It's almost negligible on most guns. Like a suppressor is kind of the way to go because you can kill people and you won't have everybody run directly for you while you're trying to loot. So I would say suppressors are the best. The other ones, like sometimes I'll run these just because they're way cheaper, depending on the mods that you want. So if I'm looking for a specific mod set, like I'm doing a build and it requires, I want extra damage, I want some armor pen, and I want like vibration dampening. So oof, that's pretty expensive. So I'll go to this, and oh, that's like way cheaper. And then yeah. So in this instance, I'd probably go muzzle brake, just because the suppressor were so expensive. So that's basically how I mod my guns. Like if I'm doing a specific build, and I'm not just looking for, you know, the cheapest price mods that I can find, because sometimes I do that also. I start with suppressor and then work my way down. And then chokes you can only apply to shotguns, and they're usually pretty cheap anyway because not a lot of people run shotguns, even though they're really strong. But there's select situations where you can use them. Otherwise, you have to try to bait somebody into charging you, and that can be hard because they could kill you before you get a chance to kill them first, or lure them into range of your weapon. So I would say most of the muzzle things are good mods. Like deep damage, this will make healing slower or make them use more meds to do it. These two are excellent. Right, this gives you extra range, this gives you extra bullet speed. So depending on your build and what you're going for, the type of weapon you're using, these are excellent. They give you a little extra armor pen, which may or may not make a difference depending on your weapon of choice. And it's so situational, you may not want to spend the extra money on it, just because like there's a lot of people propping up armor pen right now, and I would say that for the money that you're going to spend, I mean, it probably won't take any less shots than if you add extra damage or extra headshot damage, or you reduce the amount of drop off that you get. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I would say the most useful mods are probably floating barrel is good. If you're going for a sniper build with an automatic, like M4s and stuff, so you're playing desert with like an M4, floating barrel can be really good. So can powerful break, but powerful break is expensive. Oof. Yeah. So you may not want to spend the money on that. You may just want to go with like a floating barrel, some vibration dampening, and then you could go silencer device, you could go extra damage, you could go extra range and armor pen. This is probably a really good combo, and it's not that expensive, 30k. Yeah, I'd run that in a heartbeat. I'm leaning, I used to put deep damage on everything, but I'm leaning away from it now because it doesn't seem to make that big a difference anymore. Like, even, especially at long ranges, if you don't get the kill and they get behind cover, even if they have to use extra meds, I mean, they're still going to heal up to full before they peek you again. So I find this to be not as good on desert anymore. Maybe in other game modes where there's close range and you can rush them afterwards when they're trying to heal. They're healing, like even if they get a med kit off, it won't be as good. So I would say this is more of a close range mod now that I've tested it a bunch. Destructive shooting, I don't run this unless I'm running bursting bullet. I mean, I guess it's not super expensive for the extra RPM. But I mean, if you really want an RPM, get this barrel improvement. That's really good, especially for fast-firing weapons already, like the Deluge, the P90, even on an M4 and AK, extra fire rate. Man, that's a good mod. I don't use that enough, really. I'm going to start using that more. But I play a lot of desert, so long range, long to medium range is what I'm looking at. So I like a lot of vibration dampening on rifles that have a lot of drop off, like M4s and AKs and stuff. Extra scatter range reduction is good. Extra fire rate's good. But you could go extra damage, you could go armor pen. It depends on the build you're going. The ones that I don't use a lot, like I would say that are garbage ones, are probably improved mod and powerful blow. Like, is stupid expensive. So I don't use this almost never for 8% more damage. Why would I spend 300k for 8 when I could get 5 for 3k? So I'd say overrated, unless you're building like a show gun or like a really, like, I mean, if you were to get one of these with like 3 mods, they're like 2 to 3 mil. Oof, 4, 5, 6. I mean, I guess if you're building the most expensive gun in the game, you would go with this. Yeah, so otherwise, your airtight chamber, it's going to be good enough. Super cheap mod. Good mod if you want a little extra damage. Now, if you're really good at headshots or you're going sniper build, you may want this instead. You get the extra 5 for almost no more expensive. But just know that if you screw up and you don't hit the head, you're not getting any extra damage, whereas you would get 5 regardless of head or torso or arm or whatever with airtight chambers. So this is an all-around good mod. I would say for every build, you could build airtight or silencer and then add in your third mod of choice. Those are great options. Or airtight and your other 2 mods of choice is always an excellent. I would say improved muzzle though. Don't like it. Don't use it that much. Increased speed of aiming point, like, it's almost negligible, I would say. I haven't noticed the difference using improved muzzle versus not. So maybe if it was like 50% faster or maybe 100% faster, you could feel the difference, but I can't feel the difference between them at all. So that's how I feel about the mods for that. Magazine mods I've gone over a good bit. I use, like, the good ones are your cluster, your bullet recycle, your warhead, and your heated bullets. So bullet recycle's good just because it's cheaper than heated bullets mostly. So even on weapons that, like, I don't need the bullet recycle, like M4s and AKs and stuff like that, I will use bullet recycle to get extra armor pen as opposed to heated bullets because it's cheaper. Depending on your mag of choice, like quick draw mags are the cheapest. This is the most expensive because there's way more guns now that use these. So they got really popular, which means the price jumped up really high. And then these are actually reasonably priced, I'd say. I'd say fair priced, cheap, expensive. So just keep that in mind. But then mods themselves, Warhead, I run Warhead. I would run this almost every time on all the guns always if I could afford it. Depending on the mag that it uses. The problem is when you jump up to like these, they start getting pricey. When you add on other really good mods like heated bullets, oof, yeah, not so much. But you know, 55k is not super bad. But I mean, that's only 2% extra more pen. How much cheaper is bullet recycle? Maybe a little bit. So I think I would probably go with the heated for this just because the price difference, you're getting a little bit more for not that much more. Whereas the price difference between these, 78k versus 140k for what, 2 extra? And then if you actually find one that's like 7, 8, 9, 10, they're going to be really like retarded expensive. So I would say nah. But yeah, those are the best mods are probably bullet recycle, warhead, heated bullets. Weakening ammo is actually really good. If you can get that headshot on them and it weakens them for 10 seconds, like I've been hit with this effect, it sucks. So, you know, like that right there, that's a great mag. I'd run. Pretty good. I would say this is overrated. The penetrating warhead, look at the price on it for 12%. Oof. Yeah, I'm going to say not worth it in most situations. Lightweight is a pretty decent mod if you're looking for a little extra reload time and some mag capacity. Like I said in my armor video, like the difference between taking somebody down is usually 1 or 2 rounds. So if you get an extra 3 or 4 rounds in your magazine, that could be enough to kill like a second person or his third buddy in 3s, you know, having that extra round if you make all your shots count. Cluster is an absolute must for any close range weapon. And if you're going cluster, so you're going just straight increased damage, I would say on your muzzle you probably want to run just airtight. Airtight and maybe armor pen, maybe a rifle. Oof, that's a bit expensive. Oof, even more expensive. So, you know, you might have to make the choice between, because usually you can get one of these mods, but getting them both together makes it expensive. So either run armor pen if you're expecting to run into a bunch of armored guys, or damage regardless is always better. So I would say that 90% of the time airtight chamber is going to be better than your armor stuff, just because of the way the armor system is right now, because of gun safing. Once gun safing goes away and people are forced to use good armors to protect their guns, then armor pen is going to be where it's at. But until then, I'm going to say damage is just as good, if not better, for most situations, because nakeds up to T3s, if you're using T3 ammo, you're not going to notice a difference. So, ammo belt, I almost never use. Split magazine, never use it. It's kind of garbage. Marker ammo, I almost never look at my mini-map, so this is trash, but if you have teammates that... Pete, can you stop while I'm recording? Sorry. Yeah, marker ammo, I almost never look at my mini-map, so unless you use a partner who's like good at that, doing the mini-map thing, and you know, you shoot a guy and he can figure out where he's at, then maybe that's for you, but I don't use it, and I don't have anybody who uses it. Necrotic, I would say this would be better if, I don't know, this is very situational. Like, this is only really useful for probably when you catch somebody out in a field, like at longer ranges, and they're trying to run to cover and you're trying to slow them down as much as you can. And I'd say this isn't really worth anything unless you're coupling it with the leg damage mod, where you get a lot more damage reduction. And then also, this is per stack, so you'd have to be using like a fast firing weapon, so I would not bother with this mod on a sniper that's slow firing. It's not going to be significant enough, and on a sniper you're going to do enough damage that they're going to die in like 3 shots anyway. So what, you're maybe going to get 6% slow speed on them before... I don't think it's going to make a difference. So necrotic, I'd say, is pretty garbo nowadays. I used to like it a lot when I was newer, but now I don't find it that useful. I'd rather have literally any, like, weakening. I'd rather have lightweight. Heck, even ammo belt. Give me more reload speed reduction. As opposed to necrotic. I'd say that one's on the back burner for me, just like marker ammo. Longer magazine is pretty good, I'd say. So you get max magazine capacity and some reload speed versus what is lightweight? Even more reload, reduce reload time, reduce reloading speed. So okay, yeah, I gotcha. So the speed is how fast. So if you're using like a machine gun, it takes a lot longer, whereas reload time is, I don't know, they seem like the same thing, don't they? They're called 2 different things. I feel like they would basically do the same thing. So, and then this gives you way more mag capacity, so I don't know. Longer seems better to me. Longer than lightweight, but maybe not. It's hard to tell in this game, like, what applies to what stat. So, I don't know. Bursting Bullet is a great mod if you're going for armor damage. If you're going for armor damage, then you're probably going to want to run, like, Warhead is the only one on your magazine that does extra armor damage, so you want Warhead. On your muzzle, you want Destructive Shooting, because that increases armor durability consumption. And then on your optic, you want Armor Destroyer, which does armor damage. I don't know how well these stack, or what kind of... I'm assuming that they're better if you stack more durability consumption, but I don't know. Maybe you only need one. I have no idea. It's hard to tell with this game because you don't know what the mods apply to exactly. I'm going to assume, though, if you have all of them, it's as good as it can get. But maybe one is as good as it gets. Who knows with this game. I find it hard to test because you can't add mods to the weapon thing, or to the armor thing in the shooting range. So my best guess is having all 3 is better than 1 or 2. For stocks, light stock is where it's at now. Everybody, like, I was using this before, but now everybody's caught on, so now it's way more expensive than it used. It used to be like one of the cheapest mods, but now everybody uses it. So on any stock that you can get, I'd say light stock is the best mod to have. And all these other mods, like are they're second, I would say. This is the one I'm looking for almost all the time. If it doesn't have light stock on it, I don't really want it. Even if they have some of these other good mods like fixed scatter or whatever, I'm just like, but can I get it with light stock? So, yeah, some of these other ones are really good, like memory allo, fixed scatter. These are all good mods. Depends on what kind of build you're building. Triangular balance, I don't use that one that much, the reduced recoil, but I guess it's good. Weighted stock, oof. Reduce movement speed when holding guns by 3%, but reduce vertical hip fire recoil. So I'm guessing this is only good on like machine guns. And it's really expensive, so oof. Yeah, I've never used that before. Reduce scatter range is good. I use that a lot on sometimes I'll run like these two when I'm, shooting with like a gun that scatters on desert at longer ranges. But I mean, fixed scatter's pretty good as well if you don't mind crouching. And then you got memory alloy if you're I'm guessing this is better for close range than long range, but if you're on a hill sniping or whatever with like your M4 and you're strafing back and forth so that they can't get a shot on you, and you're shooting as well, this could be useful as well, because it's always risky standing still. That's a pretty good one. Handling assist, I don't use that one that much. I don't find it to be that useful. Reload time, I mean, I guess if you're going for a max reload speed build, which I have not tried yet, maybe I should do a build like that, a reload speed build, but I feel like if your gun has enough ammo, you don't need to reload that quickly. So, this could be really good, but when you shoot, you have to stop. Otherwise, it increases the scatter penalty when you're moving or jumping. So, this is another one of those, like, why would you do this instead of just fixed scatter? Because you're going to have to, at least with fixed scatter, it works whether you're crouched and moving or not. So, I'd say fixed scatter is way better than X short stock. Like, I just don't find that one to be that useful. You can't have light. Alright, so no, the hip fire no longer reduces movement speed. I almost don't notice it in melee anyways whenever I'm hip firing, so I don't use that one hardly ever, but I guess if you're going for a machine gun and you don't want your movement speed to be reduced while you're shooting, that could be a good one. Yeah, that's reload speed, and then stock improvement is scatter range. That's a good one for desert. Like if I'm using an M4 and AK or something, that's a pretty good mod to have. And then basically these stocks are better than these stocks. These are just cheaper. So if you're hurting financial wise, I would go with these, but otherwise these are better all around. You get more increased scatter stability than this one. So, same thing with these. This is the cheap version. This is the best version. So, and for the grip mods, I would say the ones I use the most are probably these two, because you get recoil and scatter in basically all situations. And if I'm not doing those, if I'm doing a crouch build, then you go recoil fixer and stand. So scatter, and then this if you're using automatic guns. If you don't need the scatter, then like if you're using like a Scourge or whatever and you don't really need the scatter, then maybe you want to go with let's see, dynamic assist. No, I don't really care too much about that one. Frontal conflict is for shotguns only pretty much, or maybe MP5s. Otherwise, oof, don't really need it. Thumb grip, I think this just increases movement speed, ADS movement speed, so I'd say not that much. I mean, I guess, but I don't care too much for it. This, I don't use that. Aiming point, nope. So if I was going recoil fixer, I mean, you could always go triangulation. This will reduce recoil a little bit more. Or you could go with maybe increased movement speed. And if not increased movement speed, maybe, you know, this gives you movement speed and reduces the wobble of the crosshair. So if you have a gun that wobbles a lot, which I haven't noticed too much on a lot of guns, this is a garbage mod. Increased movement speed or scope by 10%. That's nothing. And then movement induction is really expensive. This is a really good mod, but oof, is it pricey. So yeah, most of the time I'm running this, or just this, or these. So that's just what I do. But that pretty much covers attachments and all the useful combinations of mods that you can get. The only other thing to take into consideration is the price factor between them. So if like your times twos that you're looking for is really expensive in the mod combination that you want, maybe try holographic. I always start high and go low. Basically, that's how I work. Like, I determine what I would most prefer, and then I go lower to see if I can get a price difference that's more reasonable. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I basically went over ammo, armor pen, versus damage, and then all the other attachment combinations and what's most useful. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one later.